Welcome to SAM Conversation, a program of South Asia Monitor. Today we're going to discuss the impact of Israel-Iran war on India. For this, it is our pleasure to invite Lieutenant General Kamal Davar, former DG, Defense Intelligence Agency. He's a veteran of the 1965 and 1971 India-Pakistan wars, and as a commander, is out of the few armored corps, that is tank formation commanders, whose commanded covers deals with both the Chinese and the Pakistanis. He is currently the president of the Delhi Forum for Strategic Studies. As far as the Israel-Iran war is concerned, we are waiting for it to be sure that it is over. Again, it was something which was done by Mr. Trump, taking a delayed part in it, and shooting down about 6 or more locations which are supposed to be nuclear sites. But according to reports, there is no sign of any radioactive fallout, dust, or anything of that sort. So it remains to be seen whether what the American forces targeted were actually the nuclear sites or not. Because even if they were earlier, there's every possibility that Iran may have removed their materials from these locations. As far as India is concerned, I think we have our stance has been quite balanced. We've not been leaning, any too closely to either Israel or Iran. Israel, we've had since 1992, we've had a very long and strong relationship of strategic affairs. And with Iran, it's a very long civilizational connection that we've had. There are so many Iranians who are happily settled in India. Sir, I'd invite your comments on what you think. Where do you think the ceasefire is? Is it fully on or not yet?
Right. Thank you, Col Anil Bhat, for getting me once again onto the South Asia Monitor to share my thoughts on some of the problems which are plaguing the world. Now, before I answer your question specifically, let's see what is happening, what is the world these days. We have always spoken about the world being a global village. But you would have noticed, especially after COVID-19, which by itself had, shaken the entire world with devastating effects physically and economically, how so many regional and global disruptions have arisen. This is the first time, I think, after World War II, that so many of them simultaneously have arisen, and in areas and regions where they were totally unexpected. So, if I could use the cliche that the world is at war with itself, and there is so much of avoidable destruction which is just going on. Now, coming nearer home and to your question, India seeks not an inch of anybody's territory. We have told all our friends, other countries, including our neighbors, China and Pakistan, live in peace. What was necessary? Now tell me what was, and this is a question which the world must answer, not India. What was the necessity for Pakistan to send in a terrorist squad on 22nd April to Pahalgam, a picturesque tourist spot in Jammu and Kashmir, and killed 26 unarmed, tourists who were just there with their families, just because they were Hindus. They were asked, "Are you a Hindu or what else?" And they were murdered in cold blood in front of their children and their wives. Now tell me which religion, and I want to ask everybody in the world, which religion sanctions the dastardly cold-blooded murder of normal tourists? Which religion allows them? So what had happened that on 6th or 7th May, we retaliated in a big way with Operation Sindoor, and we have taught a befitting lesson to the Pakistanis and told them that if you do any further mischief, we'll come back to you and deliver you more befitting lessons than you can even imagine. And that should remain India's policy. I'm sorry I'm mixing up a couple of issues, but so it must start that with Pakistan, where all the governments and prime ministers have tried to become friendly with them, they've done this back to us. Now let's come to the Iran-Israeli war, which, yes, please.
If I may, sir, we haven't really mixed up because when you now mention Pakistan, Pakistan has had a very dirty role to play in the Israeli Iran conflict also.
Absolutely. I'm
It's,
coming to that. I'm just
there,
coming to that.
yes.
You see, now when we come to the Israel-Iran war, which, as you know, lasted for about 12 days from 12th of June to 24th or so, give or take one day here and there, it was raging in ferocity with all sorts of weaponry being fired by everybody. The Americans also got into it, surprisingly. But nevertheless, the thing is that today there is, I wouldn't call it a truce. There is some uneasy cessation of hostilities or some uneasy peace. Let's hope it carries on and some better sense prevails, because both the countries are suffering in the long run. Too much of civilians, and destruction, and too much of collateral destruction taking place. Now we come to what you mentioned about Pakistan also. The Pakistanis are laughing all the way. At the moment, they are on a pig's back because of this so-called lunch being hosted by the American president to General or Field Marshal self-styled, of course, Asim Munir. And everybody is trying to find out why was this lunch given and this, that, and the other. That's actually immaterial. What is material is that, as far as we are concerned, I'll come to the impact of the Iran-Israel war a little later. Just let me finish this with, as far as Pakistan is concerned, the Pakistanis have, I think, definitely told the Americans that they'll do what they wish the Americans to do. Americans ask of them, and they will, of course, take, the IMF loans and things like that will be given to them, and they will take some money because, as you all know, the world knows, they are absolutely in dire straits economically. So they will give their air bases because the Americans also were keeping certain contingencies alive, that in case they have to bomb Iran from the other side, the Pakistanis would have given them air bases. And Pakistanis have been their, America has been their mentor since the early 50s. So there's nothing to it. The Pakistanis are willing to pay whatever price, the highest price which anybody can give. Mind you, at the same time, isn't it a complex situation that the Americans, that the Pakistanis are, begging and living on doles from China, and yet they have now also got once again closer to the United States.
It's a very dicey and very uh, dangerous situation where Pakistan, which affects India also.
Absolutely.
Pakistan professed, Munir professed to be pro-Iran, but it is reported in not only Irani media but also in other media uh, that in his meeting with General Bakeri, the head of the Iran army, he gifted a watch which had a GPS embedded in it, which became the catalyst or whatever for General Bakari to be attacked, and he was killed when he was attacked. Two more generals died. Two more generals died with him. No, this
Absolutely.
is they after having tom all the time that we are for Iran, we are for Iran. They and Mr. Donald Trump, by making him do what he did, making Munir do what he did, has he's let down India very very badly, sir. He's let down India as far as Operation Sindoor is concerned because of all that he wanted to claim, etc. But here again, so this is a very indirect way that it's the Israel-Iran conflict has affected us, sir.
Yeah. You see, now coming to what General Munir did, I mean, he acted like a small time, spy, taking a watch and giving it to the Iranians. The
Sir,
Iranians are not going to forget it, never. For
absolutely, sir.
many, many years, they'll remember that how a so-called fellow Muslim, fellow brother, of course, as we all know, there's a world of a difference in relationships between the Shias and the Sunnis. Having said that, the Iranians are not going to forget this treachery, which I would say there's no other word. If
Absolutely,
Wasim
sir.
Munir has
Sir.
actually given, as what has been reported in the press and what you have alluded to, I think it's just not done. And imagine at the level of the chief of a country. Now, coming to what you were saying about Donald Trump. Now, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, and this is where the Pakistanis are applauding themselves or patting themselves on the back, that they have managed to rehyphenate themselves with India. We've over the last many years, Pakistan and India, there is no comparison. We are five times bigger. We are far more powerful. Our standing in the world is much, much more than what the Pakistanis can dream of. They are a terrorist exporting nation, and we are a peace-loving nation where we talk of all the values and things like that. And as the Prime Minister also mentioned, that this is not the era of war. So we're trying to do that, and I wish we had done much more to get rapprochement between the Iranians and the Israelis. And I think India has the moral authority, not of now, of the last 70, 80 years, from the time of Gandhi and all that. We have a moral authority. I've been to many countries in the world, and they respect us for our inclusivity and things like that, and we must remain that. So as far as Donald Trump is concerned, I think he also looks for very small-time tactical gains. They must be wanting some air bases in Pakistan, which and some little help as far as the terrorists and other third-rate elements are concerned, which the Pakistanis are still in touch with. So, the Pakistanis also have some utility to the Americans. And the Americans, if you look down into your history last 30, 40 years, they've been utilizing them, the Pakistani contacts in Afghanistan, Iran, and things like that. So that will continue. So that doesn't matter. India is good enough. We are strong enough. We are balanced enough, and we are sane enough to ensure that we follow a policy in which our national interests are preserved, and we are not, and we ensure our strategic autonomy and things like that. I'm sure the American public and some of the senior officials of the Pentagon and others would be advising their president that don't, for God's sake, just support a terrorist supporting exporting nation just because for a few little gains here and there.
And, sir, in again, how it's affected India is, I think we've been we played the diplomatic relations. We've been dealing diplomatically very correctly, and one of the proofs and positive results of that is that we've been able to have the affected Indian population Indian nationals who are held up there, we've been able to smoothly, by God's grace, get them out from there.
Absolutely. You see, the Iranians, as you yourself said, that we have civilizational and cultural links. And let's not forget that till 2019, the Iranians were giving us oil at much cheaper rates and in rupees. And it is only after the US sanctions that India agreed to not to take oil from them. It's you just ask, it's for the asking. Just ask Iran to give you oil and they'll give you oil if you so desire or the government insists. Now you see the thing about I think we got slightly digressed. As far as Iran is concerned, it provides you much needed connectivity to India, to Central Asia. Let's not please forget that. India's massive investment in Iran's
Chabahar,
Chabahar port,
no
Chabahar
doubt,
port, which is a competitor to
no
Pakistan's
doubt.
Gwadar port. Now, this enables India a vital link to the Central Asian republics. And why is it important? For India, not only regards energy security, but the abundance of rare earth minerals. We forget this rare earth minerals. And this Iran-Israel war will hamper India's trade with the cars. Let's not, brush it aside. And it will also delay the progress of the so-called international north-south corridor, which we are trying to, project and build and things like that. And any problem in this connectivity will also hamper India-Afghanistan trade relations too, as you know, Pakistan does not permit trade between India and Afghanistan using its overland routes. And what would China love to do? They would just love to replace India in its matrix with Kabul. We have got now good relations with the Taliban, and they are very important also for us. So is Iran. So, we have to keep our sense of balance and walk, you can call it a diplomatic tightrope. But then India is quite big enough, and we can even convince our American friends and other friends to look, these are in our national interests. Whatever we do when we pursue strategic autonomy, we're not harming you, old boy. So just relax. You do what you wish to do. We'll do what we wish to do.
No, but sir, recently, Mr. Trump has proved he's done such a 180-degree turn as far as India is
Mhm.
concerned. With
Yeah,
the way
absolutely.
he's turned out in Op Sindoor. And when you take a long look, what has the deep state in US done, sir?
Mhm.
Under the previous, um, under Joe Biden? They've done some very great harm to India with what they've done in Bangladesh. And that will
Absolutely.
continue. We don't see that. We don't see Mr. Trump, so far he seems to be, he seems to have just, like a, kicked like a football, whatever very relations he'd built up, Howdy Modi and what have you.
Absolutely. You see, what happens is in the last, especially before he was sworn in as the president, he was talking a lot about India and all that. But if you see the record in the last 3 months, he has, rather rehyphenated India and Pakistan,
Rehyphenated, sir.
rehyphenated India, Pakistan, and he's talking of Pakistan. And can you imagine the U.S. Central Army commander, the United States guy? He's saying that the Pakistanis have helped them in, he used the word phenomenal assistance in terrorism. I mean, please, who are you?
That's
I mean, isn't it a joke? I mean, who are you
absolutely, sir,
trying to fool?
absolutely.
And the Americans themselves know about it. And as I had mentioned earlier, these tactical games don't suit a big power like the US. And the US, of course, are known for supporting terrorists, supporting dictators and things like that. And all this talk about democracy and civilizational values and all is good rhetoric, good to get an applause in a speech. But you don't implement it, then you're no good to the world.
Um, and we all we can, sir, I think we must hope if there's any way that we can, um, you know, we can be of advice, or Israel and Iran actually, bearing the hatchet, I'm sure we won't be hesitating at all to do so. And this is not like Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump's meddling. This is not meddling, but if we have good relations with both, then we are a positive factor, sir.
Absolutely. What you said is a wonderful thought. And just, I mean, I'm nobody. I'm a very humble old veteran, but I have a bad habit of professing unsolicited advice to people who don't need it. But to a couple of people at somewhere or the other, I've suggested that India should have had a summit in Delhi, in which we should have called President Putin, President Donald Trump, and Iran, Israel, and a couple of others, Saudi, UAE, and a couple of others, and in New Delhi over 3 days, try to sort out these problems which can be sorted out. And that is where I had mentioned even earlier. I wish India, with all the moral authority it has, which I believe not as a patriotic Indian, no, I believe that India has the moral authority, and all we have to do is not think tactical again, think strategic, think for the world. Because if you want to be a wish guru, I'm sorry, you have to have very broad shoulders. We should have got all these people to Delhi and tried to sort it out. We can still sort it out because the so-called peace in the Middle East is all very fragile, as you know. Anything can happen any day. So we should try and make an effort to get people to New Delhi and sort it out. And we can sort it out. After all, this is the land of Mahatma Gandhi. As a soldier, I'm saying that.
No, sir, it's a very good thought, a very good idea. And you never know, except for the very bumpy ride that we are now going through with the US. With all other countries, I think we and let's not count China and Pakistan, because they are in the category of enemy number one and enemy number two, and they will remain so. But otherwise, the global relationships today of India, I think we're doing very well. One is not trying to, pat oneself on the back, but it's dispassionately looking at things.
Yeah. Having said that, we must also harmonize our neighborhood. And let me tell you, Iran, they are a big country, they're a powerful country. They would not appreciate the current, if I can use the word, flirtations of Pakistan with the United States. And they will be sending a message across to them, okay, look, old boy, just relax. Otherwise, the Iranians have the ability to absorb a lot of and whatever comes from across or from the enemy. Haven't they absorbed it even now from the Israelis and even from the Americans? So let's not just treat them that they are, that they had some destruction after some airstrikes and all. So the moral of the story is that India must remain aloof from everybody and ensure that, and if you remain that and you don't take sides, everybody will listen to you. Everybody will listen to you. And we have our own authority, moral authority and things like that. So let's exercise it in the larger good of our region and of the world. And I'm sure we can do it.
No doubt, sir. You brought out a lot of very important and positive aspects, sir. Is there anything you would like to add, sir?
Well, nothing very much, except again, I like to repeat that let New Delhi, let our government organize a peace-seeking conclave in Delhi and reach out to the world. Because the world is, if you notice, there's so many disruptions taking place, so many kinetic conflicts taking place. And if you look at it, what has anybody achieved? Nothing. And most of these, destructions which are going on, you please see Gaza, you please see, and I'm not talking of the Hamas, they are no Palestinians to me, but the ordinary Palestinians, you see those photographs of children crying, there is no food, so many people dying. What do you
and
achieve?
them
Nothing,
that
nothing you achieve. So,
so that
I
is
would
what.
I would suggest to America, look, you're the most powerful nation in the world, remain that, but for God's sake, reach out to people and work towards peace. Otherwise, we are all on the way to self-destruct this planet. It's a beautiful planet, but most of us are working towards this self-destruction.
And I think there's um, one wish, advice, whatever you call it, sir, for Iran. Do not, it should not support the three H's, sir, the Hamas, the Hezbollah, and the Houthis.
Absolutely. No, Iran also, there is no doubt on the fact that they have been exporting terrorism also in that region, in the Middle East. There's no denying the fact. But Iran should be prevailed upon by, a committee of nations. Look, it is not in your interest.
Yeah.
You're a big country, you've got oil, you can look after your people and live very well and peacefully with prosperity and happiness. For God's sake, don't export terrorism, the Shia oriented or whatever it was. So you see, the thing is, if you have good relations and you had an effective United Nations, which I'm sorry to say is totally
Yes,
ineffective,
sir, no,
we could have
absolutely
had
correct.
a better world. And we must, all of us, in our own ways, strive for a better world.
Thank you, sir, and Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, and today is an auspicious day with the second Indian Group Captain Shukla having reached, the International
Yes,
Space Stations.
yes,
So
sir. Yes,
congratulations to
sir.
him. Congratulations to everybody. And I still remember when our first fellow Sharma went up, and Mrs. Gandhi asked him, आपको ऊपर से हिंदुस्तान कैसे लगता है? And he said those golden words, सारे जहां से
Sari jahan se
अच्छा
acha.
हिंदुस्तान. What a beautiful thing.
Absolutely, sir.
And so is Shukla now doing. So it's a matter of pride today, a great pride for us, all of us today, and
No doubt,
even for
sir.
the developing world also.
Yes, sir.
So Jai Hind and Jai Bharat.